Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Thursday night Scrap Your Scraps with Crafty Chris. Hello, hello. Tonight we're going to be doing something that I saw on Pinterest, but I'm doing a different twist on it. This technique is obviously easier if you use a silhouette machine or a Cricut machine of some sort. So a mechanical cutter, but I'm going to show you how you can do it just using your little 6-inch wide cutter. So bear with me. I haven't done this before, but it's an experiment that has to happen because we want to see if we can do it. So I'm just going to put a few things out of the way so that I can focus on the first steps. Alrighty, so I've decided to do, I'm going to do a layout of a friend's cottage. And I'm thinking in terms of mosses and woods. So I need to cut these papers down into pieces that I can put through my machine to die cut out of my background. Some butterflies and moths and flowers. So I am going to first think about how I want to do that. So I could divide it into 6s, but that's kind of boring. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I'm going to divide each one into 6 first. So let's do that. I'm going to take off the zip strip, and of course you save your zip strips if there's anything on them. Let's see. Yeah, got a wood pattern on the back, so I'm going to save that zip strip for another project. Alrighty. So saved. Alright. Now, do I want it to go sideways or do I want it to go this way? I think I like it up and down. It gives the idea of the side of a cottage or something. So we're going to do a 6-incher, and I'm just going to, my cutter has been loosened up, and I just want to make sure that I'm getting my 6-inch cut. So I put my 6-inch ruler lined up with my paper, and I line that up with my cut line, and then I'm sure to get a 6-inch cut. There we go. And perfect. Okay, so there's my 2 6-inchers. So I need a 6-inch for one side, and we're going to cut this down again. And a 6-inch for the other side. So again, I'm going to put this in. And I'm going to line up my paper with, so when your cutter starts to fail you with accurate measurements, this is the way you can make it work. Okay, so there's 2 6-inchers. Then I think I'm going to take, divide this into 3-inchers. Do I want to do that? I don't know. Let's, if I do 3-inchers, yeah, why not? And this I can divide because I have a proper measurement. Okay, 2 and 3. And we'll divide this into 3. Okay, so now you got to make sure you have some tape. I'm not going to use repositionable because it's expensive. So on the back, I'm going to stick this all together with Scotch tape. That's all. So I want to bring a little bit of the green over here, but mostly have the brown. Why does that seem so light? I can turn that around a bit. And I think we'll turn that around. So there's one page. Okay, so we will be sticking it together. And then on this side, we are going to do green again, brown, and there we go. And there's our 2 pages. 1 and 2. So now I want to figure out where I want my photos if I'm going to put this page together, because my cuts for the little dies that I'm using will be dependent on how I lay out my photos. So I'm going to grab a couple of 4x6s and 4x4s because I tend to use those the most. So 4x6s and 4x4s, and maybe a couple of 3x4s too. There we go. So you know I have my ring of photo things. It's getting bigger, but that's okay because I put my pictures on my pages pretty soon after making them. Alright, so I want a place for title, but this time I think I'm going to put a title along the bottom. I do a lot of top titles, so let's try putting a title along the bottom. And when you're camping and cottaging, you tend to do a lot of photo shots that are horizontal because you're working with landscape. So I'm going to put more of those than vertical. I just want to kind of balance the pictures out, but I want to leave room for the fancy little thing technique we're going to see today. And so my title is going to go along there. So that can go there. That can go there. I don't want to fill it up too much because I do want to have fun with the technique. So I think I'm going to do something like that. Alrighty. And we have a title here, so maybe I can do 3x5 here. But then I won't really have room. Let me think about that. I think I'll do something like that. And then I have some room here, some room here. Move this down a little, some room here. And some room there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 photos. Do I want that many photos? Maybe I'll move this over here a little bit so I have space for another element there. So in my mind, I'm thinking that I'm going to have holes cut in this paper. The big ones, the big die, needs to have enough space to be cut. And you can cross over it a little bit. So there's a spot for big die. And we can put a flower and a little moth on there and still have room here. And then, so I'm going to take a picture of that. So when I'm rushing it through, I can kind of figure out where I'm putting it. And I can also see it. When I take these pictures, then I can also see them in my brain and see if it looks balanced enough. So I just turn it around. There we go. And I'm going to just look at the one page at a time. There we go. Just need to turn it one more time. Okay, so now I can look at this one page, and when I'm looking at the page, I'm just looking for balance. So I have a flower there, a little butterfly there, and a butterfly there, a moth there, and a butterfly there. So I think that that looks fairly balanced, so I'm good with that side. So now we're going to play with the other side. And that big space open there, looks good for, so I should lift that up a bit. It's a bit dark on this side because I got a number of projects going on here. I want to put the big guy there, and I think I will do, you know what, I think I'm going to switch that around like that, and I can put the little guy here. So something like that. Just going to move this off to the side for a minute, pull this in, and this will give me a spot for some journaling. Although, maybe I need to, just want to check where I had, so I had the big guy on wood on this side, so now he's on green on that side. Had that on wood there, so now it's on green on this side, and this is on green in both sides. Oh well, that's fine. So now I'm going to take a picture of that one so that I can remember where I have everything. Turn it around, focus in, and there we go. Okay, so now it's time to actually cut everything. So I'm going to take these off. I know I'm using these, so those are going to stay with me. And these guys are going to go to be put away later. So I need to start side to side with these dies. So the first thing I'm going to do is move this page off so I have some room for my die cutter. Let's pull up my die cutter, and these are thin dies, so I'm going to end up using a couple of different mats. It depends on the dies you have and how thick they are. I think mine, I always do a pull from a scrap piece of paper first. Make sure everything will look okay. So I've got an A plate, a B plate, and a C plate. That should work. So I'm going to start with the outside edge and move my way in. And on the outside edge, if I'm not mistaken, let me look at my camera. On the outside edge, I had the butterfly. It looks about just under halfway, somewhere around there. So, get my plates put together, and I'm going to give this about a 1/4 inch from the edge. I have to put my phone up so I can see what I'm doing here. It'll stay up. Alright, so it's about there. So I'm just going to put a little piece of repositionable tape to hold that. You can use washi if you want to use washi. Whoops, it's a lot of repositionable tape. So I'm just going to stick that down so it will stay in place as I put it through. Alright. Make sure I've got it on the plate. It's a little bit to the side, so that's a bit tricky. Actually, I said I was going to test it first. So let's see if I have my sandwich put in the right order. And just need a little bit of scrap paper for that, which I should have handy. There we go. Just tear off a little bit of scrap paper, and I'm going to put it to the side because that's where I'm actually going to be cutting it. Let's see how that works. and make sure our sandwich, okay. You should hear that little snappy bit, and I'm going to go back just to make sure. Oh, yeah, beautiful. And just the tape is holding it down, so that worked wonderfully. And now I have a butterfly for my collection. I don't even think I have to go through twice. I think I can manage to just go through once. So let's set up our paper again. It's a little bit under halfway, a little bit away from the edge. There we go. Okay. Put our C plate on top. Careful about getting our paper to go through because it literally just is 6 inches. That's all you have on this guy. And push it in. All right. There we go. And I'm just going to go through the one time because my paper is not as thick as cardstock. And beautiful. It went through beautifully. I just got to get it up now. There we go. And now I have a wooden butterfly for another page. So I can collect those. And there's our first page. And it did get a little crumpled along the edge, so I think what I'm going to do is just distress the edge a little bit. I probably could have cut it a little smaller, but I wasn't. So like if I were to do this again, I would probably make this 5 3/4 and then add the extra quarter onto one of the other pieces, or 1/8 on both pieces. So there's my outside edge. Now I want to do my green, which is in the middle. Now I know that this works. I'm going to put my little green guy, my little moth guy. He's going to be down about here. I'm not going to have to worry about edges on this one because he's small enough. And I had a piece of repositionable tape that's probably stuck on my body somewhere, so I will take another piece. All right, so we got him about 1 inch and a bit from the bottom. Take him down so it doesn't shift. Put our sandwich together, put our paper through, and away we go. You want to make sure that die is at least in the center section of your plates, because otherwise it can be difficult to cut. And that went through beautifully. So I'm just going to pull that off. And look, I got a little moth for another page. And there we are. We're all ready to go. This paper's a little thinner, so I want to be careful. So that's that guy. And now we're going to do the flower. And the flower is on the wooden part, and it's close to the top. It's about there. Sort of centered. I like mine off kilter a little bit. Get some more repositionable tape. Now we use repositionable tape when we're sticking stuff on top of our layout paper, and we use regular Scotch tape if we're trying to sew the two things together. Alrighty. Which is the second part of this. Woo. Okay. Come on. There we go. Oh yeah, that was a nice crack. The cracks are good. It means that the dies are clicking in and doing the cut for you. Alrighty, so there's a flower for another day. And let's just pop this die off. Okay, there's the die. came off without the tape. And there's our cut. So that's one side done. Now we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to switch my photo. And see what I'm doing on the other side. Okay, so on the other side, I'm starting with my small green paper and my flower. Oops. There we go. And it's about center, more or less. So I am going to stick this down about center. Again, I like my flowers off a little bit. So let's put it in about there. Okay. Putting it through. Alrighty. There we go. All done. Flower seems to want to come out easier. This paper is a bit shinier than the other paper, so it tends to release the cut paper quicker. Okay, so now I'm going to save these pieces because I can use them again on another project. And this die is now no longer needed, so we'll put that to the side. This is the first cut. Our second cut is going to be on our wood. Oh no, our wood doesn't have a cut. That's interesting. And then our third cuts are going to be, we're going to have to run this through twice because I don't have a long plate. So our butterfly is going to be somewhere in it like that. All right, and I'm going to make sure it's central. And I probably am going to get a bit of a ridge on this, as we figured from the last one. Okay. So I'm just going to run it back and forth so I don't go too far down the page. Yeah, a little bit of a ridge, nothing serious. It's something to think about for the next time. And my tape ripped. So there's a butterfly in moss. Keeping my tape for another day. Now you can do this with any shapes. So if you don't have butterflies and flowers and you're not doing cottage pictures, you can do this with anything. And my little moth, he goes down in the corner, so we're going to have to keep it all together here. And he's about here. There we go. Yes, as I was saying, you can use pretty much any paper for this, or any shape for this. It depends what your theme of your page is. I know I'm going to put cottage pictures on here, so that's why I've chosen to do this. Okay, so we've got a bit of a gouge on that edge, so we are going to have to do some distressing, but that's fine. I have no problem with that. And there's our little moth for another page. All right, and that can go back. And this is on one side. All right, so now we can actually put our die cutter away, and we can put our mats away. And now we can compile our pages. So I just want to sort of give this a little bit of help here because it got quite jammed on that side. I think it's a better idea, as I said earlier, for us to make sure we take an extra 1/4 of an inch off. Okay, so here we have our pages. Awesome. All right, so we're going to put our pages together. That means we have to flip everything over and tape them from the back. So we're using regular Scotch tape because it's less expensive than reversible. And you can put one whole long line of tape there if you want, or you can just put pieces. It's whatever you want. I hear my dog outside my door with her squeaky ball. She's not happy when I go inside with the door closed. Just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Oh yeah, I'm doing the left page. Huh, that makes a difference. There we go. And there's nothing on the inside and that on the center. Perfect. So here we go. Just finishing this off. Because mine, I always put mine into page protectors, I don't really worry about doing glue all the way down. So there's one page ready to go. And we're going to do the same for this one. Put everything upside down. Alrighty. Oh, I have my crushed edge along here. That's unfortunate. I think we can still make it work. All right. So, all this lockdown stuff is been pretty interesting. I find I'm crafting a whole lot more than I was, and it actually makes me happy. I'm kind of worried about what's going to happen when the lockdowns are all over and people are out and about living their normal lives again, if there is such a thing as normal. Because I don't think I'll have the same amount of time to do this kind of crafting. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I hope everyone that watches this is keeping themselves safe and out of harm's way. All right, there we go. And there we go. So there's our 2-page layout. Now if we put our photos back, you can see where everything comes together. So this is the left page. So we have a photo there, a photo there, and then we have a photo here, and a photo here. And then if we go to the right page, we have a photo here, and we have a photo here, and we have a little photo there. So I can bring this down a bit more, and this is just going to touch the wing. There we go. And then we'll have our title here. So there we are. So this is as far as we are. So now what you're going to do is you're going to pull all your pieces of strips of paper, different colors that kind of complement the idea of, in my case, cottage, in your case, whatever your theme is, and then we will do how we're going to fill in these spots. Okay, I'm just going to go grab those now, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I've grabbed my colors, and basically it works out to like 5 or 6 little strips of paper from your collection per unit. So we're just going to take off our photo mats for a minute. Try to keep our colors. I've got my yellows all in one spot, my oranges in one spot, my pinks, my reds, and my purples, and I've got like a multicolor mix on this side. So you can play around with that. If you know what your photos are going to be, you can coordinate the colors to the photos if you like to do that. But for the purpose of this particular project, I'm just using, general colors that you would see in nature. All right, so I'm just going to put one on top of the other for a moment, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to play this out. So I'm looking at my butterfly here, and my butterfly measures, I know I had a ruler a minute ago. Oh, there it is. Should always put it back. So this is, I'm going to do it vertical. Well, I guess I'll do it according to the animal. So this is 3 inches by 1.5 inches. So if I look at my mat here and I use my mat as my guide, it will help me figure out. So if I go from here to here, that's 3 inches. Oh, why don't I do it this way? Here to here is 3 inches wide, and it's 1.5 deep. So this is the area that I have to work in. Maybe I'll put that with a red pen so you can see it, if I can get it to write. Oh, there we go. Red pen. So these points are the points of my butterfly. So I'm going to create my mix of papers according to this width and this length. It's still hard for you to see. There you go. Now you can see that a little better. So I'm actually going to cut my pieces longer, about 1/4 inch longer. So I'm going to go in this box. But what I know is that within these lines is what's going to show. So I want to play with the colors that I have. And I've got a number of different patterns. This one is pretty heavy, so I'm going to put him in the background just a bit. So he's going to go about there. And you want to make sure that actually the paper is actually going to show. So I'm getting rid of the turquoise, which is fine. It's going to get cut off eventually. And then I think on this side we'll put this one. So I'm just like following my little guideline. And let's see. This one can go in the middle. And then I'm going to add some of these other stripes, bring in some color here. And I think I want to bring in some color here. Now I have to bring, it'll be fine. So that just barely makes it, that piece. And we'll just have this only showing a little bit, and this only showing a little bit. So we have some play going on there. All right, now this is how I want to lay it down. So I'm going to move that up. Now I've got to turn it over and use my mat to actually stick the back together with tape. So I need to go top to bottom first. So we're going to put this guy right there. And I'm just going to place a little piece of tape. Actually, I'll use repositionable for now, and I have some already cut from when I used it before. So that's going to go there. And then this guy is going to play there. And he's not going all the way down. So stick him there. All right, and then this guy is going to go over that whole section. All right, and we're going to stick him down. All right, then these guys will probably have to stick on later. Now that I'm thinking about it, I won't be able to stick those ones down. So this guy who's going to stick on later is going to go later. Start again. Sorry, like I said, we're getting the background in first, and then we're going to flip it over and put the foreground in. I want the red to show. So these two guys are going to go there. Well, since we're just doing background, we can actually do the proper tape. Okay, so Scotch tape, because we can stick this down permanently now. I'm going to lose the red only a little bit, so that's fine. So I need to have my adhesive down where I'm going to be cutting. And the next piece is going to be this big guy. So now these three pieces are going to stick together. And then the next big piece is this guy. So luckily it all worked out in terms of width. And we're just going to stick him down there. Okay. Then we're going to flip it over. And using our guide again, we're going to make sure that we can get these guys added to what's going on here. So he's going to need some adhesive on him. Okay, so I only want to give him about an inch. And I just stuck some adhesive to my table. I'll get that off. Alright, so my edge is there. I want him to come down a little bit. Like that. Okay. This guy, I'm going to have a bit shorter because I really want that green, or no, I want the green to come out just at the top. So, okay. Give it about an inch. So this is the building part. And I think I'm going to put him over here. There we go. Then this guy, just going to have a little bit of him popping down. There we go. Okay. So now I know that this is 1.5 inches, so I'm going to cut this 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch bigger. So this is I'm going to cut this in, so it's going to be 2 inches. So I get my trimmer and stick this underneath. You really want a guillotine for this because your paper with layers is going to add up. Now all these guys, if they're over 1 inch, they still go back into my slough pile. Now, for all intents and purposes, when we put this underneath here, we should see all of the paper. There we go. So there's our first piece right there. It's so cute. So we'll put that in after. We're just going to get the actual cuts done today. All right, so this is pink, and I took that out from underneath. All right, so now we're doing our little moth down here, and you can't see him because he's on top of green, but there he is. And his measurements are, the widest part of him is 1.5, and the tallest part of him is, let's try that better, 1.25. So 1.5 by 1.25. So this is already 1.5, but it's the wrong direction. So I'm going to make another mat. So 1.5 to here, and 1.25 down. So it's more like a square. I'm going to circle those so you can see what I'm lining up with. This is the finished product, but I'm going to take 1/4 inch outside that edge, so that I have something to stick down. All right, and we're working with purple, and I'm playing around. I don't really want it to be obvious that those are hippopotamus, but I think I wanted to have that on top. So you're going to have this, and then this, and then this. Oh, it's a little thin, so maybe we'll do that. 1, 2, 3, and then popping that in and that in, just to give it some texture. That looks good. Okay, so this guy is going to go, to get these 3 things. This guy is going to go a little bit to the left of the middle, and we're going to stick him down with regular tape. Okay, to this guy. All right, and then this guy is going to go in there. So this is going to be a little longer than I need, but this is the way I can get all the patterns showing. Okay, there we go. Okay, now sitting this in there. There we go. Now I am going to add my other top pieces with my adhesive. And this one, I have to see my lines for a minute. This one is going to play down here. And this one, whoops, is going to play down here. So I need to make sure that I'm getting it in the field. There we go. Okay, and now I know this is 1.25 inches that I need, but I'm going to be cutting 1 3/4 inches, so I have something to mat. All right, there we go. Okay, and these guys are all going to go more or less, except this guy, he's too small. He's getting tossed, but the rest of these guys are going to live back in my container. I'll reuse them. And this is the piece we're going to use, and I'll just put it under there so you can see what we're doing with it. And there we go. So that's our little guy over there. Okay, And then the last one we're going to do on this page is the flower. And the flower is, I'm doing it sort of sideways, so the flower is 2 inches by 2 inches. Okay, so let's draw another mat, and we'll call it 2 inches by 2 inches. There's our exact measurement. Okay, and then we're going 1/4 of an inch outside that in our planning. And I really like the black that's coming up in this, so I'm going to stick the black down. And this red is really vibrant, so I'm going to stick that down over there. And then I have 2 plaids, so I should maybe split up the plaids. I think I want this plaid in here, not there, and then this plaid on the end. So we're going to have to shift this over so that it gets inside there. Okay. So that is what the base is going to be, and then I think I'm just going to put this one piece on at the end. All right. So Scotch tape, first piece down, and this is going to go over. So let's make sure we have this little plaid in there first. It's going to need to be about there, and then we can put the red in there. Okay, and then we can put this red. This red can actually cross over a little bit. So that's a lot of big red. So I'm just going to cross that over. So I'm just going to take that down. It's all good. Try to keep it straight. There we go. And then this guy with the black, it's going to go down there. And now we've got to make sure it's going to be a little wider than I need, so I can play around with it. Alrighty. And we're going to stick that down. Alright, and then on the front, this is a sticker, so it actually doesn't need to be adhered. And we are going to, but I'm not going to use it all, so let me go back and get that piece of sticker paper. There we go. Because I'm not going to use it all. I only want to use what I need. So this is actually what I'm going to see. All right. So there we go. Alrighty. Oops. Let's try and stick that under a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so now I've got this stuck together, and I'm going to cut it 2 inches. 2 inches is what I need, sorry, so I'm going to cut it 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches, so I have some play. There we go. This guy's going to move up here a little bit. And I'm going to use him again. And these guys can be used again. And there's my square. All right. Now we're going to do the exact same thing to the second page, but I'll let you do that on your own. I'll finish this page so you can see what happens next. And then we'll come back again. All right, so here we are. So I have my flower here, and I want to move it around to where I can see pretty much all of the pattern. And because I like my flowers on an angle, I am going to keep it slightly angled and switch it over when I get it where I like it, and get some regular adhesive tape and tape it down. There we go. And there's the finished product. Oh, that goes there. These are being reused. Okay, so there's my red flower in the corner. Now I'm going to do my little guy here. So I slip this underneath. I play around with it until I like what I see. Okay, then I hold it, flip it over. Okay, whoops, I just twisted it. So let's make sure it's still going in the direction I want. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a piece of my, I took a piece of my repositionable and just stuck it on the front so it wouldn't move. So that's a good thing to maybe use to keep it from shifting. So we use that in the last one. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's my little guy down there. And this one has a lot going on, but I want to get as much in as I can of the different colors. Okay, I like that. I'm going to have to trim on this side. I can see right away. Just going to stick that there so it doesn't shift. Get my permanent tape. Run that along there. 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 Now you can see how it'd be much quicker to do this with a cutting machine that's mechanical, but you don't have to. All right, and there's my other butterfly there. So once I get the pictures on there, it's going to look really awesome. I'm liking this. I think I will use this many, many more times. Okay, and trim that off. And take the tape off so I don't have to look at that. Now, there's a couple of little spots because I have a fancy punch that I'm going to need to do a tiny bit of tip gluing. So let me find a glue pen. Glue pen, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to get a little bit of glue. Whoops, good thing this dries clear. And make sure that those are stuck down. Because we don't want to have them popping up and getting ripped. And just a little bit there. So you can use geometric shapes that that are bold geometric shapes, and you won't have this problem. But this is what I chose. Make sure those stick down. There we go. And that one doesn't need it. I don't think that one needs it. I could do it on each of the points, but it doesn't seem to be lifting like the little bits of the butterflies were. So we're all good. So that's our first page. Now we're going to repeat that entire process with our second page. So you're going to go through what we just did with the second page. Okay, and you've already got the measurements on your mat. And if you want me to repeat those measurements, I can do that. So the flower that I'm using, well, it doesn't really matter. You're just making sure you're a 1/4 of an inch beyond each edge of your shape. I can't really measure mine because you're not using the same things that I'm using. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is the flower, and I will be back shortly when I have this all done. And you can do your second page. We are back, and here is our 2-page layout finished with the decor. I think it's just really cute. I've got some sparkly bits on there, and I'll probably add more stickers because I do have some cottaging stickers. But this is the basic gist of the 2-page layout. I've gone ahead and cut mats for all of the photos that I want to lay out. So let me just get my pictures back. And okay, starting on my left side. Oh, this doesn't want to stand up. Hang on a second. Get my little stand for my phone there so I can see what I'm doing. All right. So on this side we have 4 by 6. So I've cut a mat that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And then we have a 4 by 4. So I've got a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then we had a photo that was 3 by 4. So I've cut a mat that is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then we had another 4 by 6 photo. So I've cut that mat 6 1/4, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Now, this is not really, it's getting too tight over here. I think we're okay though. There we go. So if I put back the photos, so this will give you an idea of what the whole thing is going to look like when the photos are matted. And I'm just matting with a complementary, with a adjacent color, which means one that is close to the colors in the background. Okay, there we go. That kind of gives you the idea of what's going on this page. A little spot for journaling. And then on this page, I have a 4 1/4 up in the top end. And there's the photo. And then I have for 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 mat. And here's my picture. And then I have a 3 1/4. So we're going to have to move this over a tad. We already knew that this was going to squeeze in there. Alrighty. That looks good. And this is our 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, which, and there's our photo. And then we're going to have our title down here. And I'll let you decide what your title will be. Mine will be something about camping. And you'll see the finished layout in the opening screen of this video. So that is it for today. I love this. I'm going to use this more. I think it's fun and funky, and it's a little bit different. It's different than what I would have normally done. So I'm kind of glad that I tried this technique, and just to remind you that your title is going to go down there. And I hope to see you next Thursday. So, bye-bye. Have a great weekend.